Okay, so hello everybody, welcome to That's Random. Today I'm going to be talking with the musician and artist Andrew. Andrew, can you tell me your last name again? I don't want to completely butcher it.
Yeah, it's Andrew Poitras.
Poitras.
Yeah. I think it's Dutch. I don't know. I've never
Yeah,
given it too much thought. I think it's yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's
I
an
don't usually
interesting
go by that
spelling.
moniker if I like am performing or anything. I'll just
Yeah. What do you
assume.
perform? What do you perform under? What's
Um,
your? Do you have a band name? Do you have a specific artist name?
yeah. I mean, I'm one of those people that'll just float into different titles as I go. So like, I've been with like I don't even know how many groups now, maybe like 5 or 6, and so just go with what a band name they come up with. Um, I went by Hadia for a while. Um, uh, yeah, so it kind of varies. I kind of like the idea of having a moniker though. It keeps your identity sort of like under the professional uh, illusion, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you have a website that when I post this up on YouTube and on Podbean, I can put your
Yeah,
website?
yeah, I can hook you up with that.
Yeah, what is it? And what is your website? And I'll write it. Do you want to tell the listeners and viewers of this, and then I will put it in the link.
Sure. Yeah, it's under SoundCloud, and then I think you can just look up my name, Andrew Poitras, and that I'll come up.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
Okay. Cool.
I'm also on Bandcamp as well. Got to spread yourself as much as you can, I think.
Oh yeah.
So,
That's. I mean, anything we can do. We all have to have like a secondary hustle in some way.
that's what this has been for a long
Yeah.
time. I mean, I've always worked like a couple jobs, and so like having this on the side has always been really nice for me. Nice
Yep.
for my mental health because it keeps me feeling good. Like I can be productive in musical ways. So,
Yeah. How would you describe your path to recovery, and what is the music meant for you as an artist?
um, hmm. Well, you know, I am someone that has like struggled with um, some issues involving depression for a couple years now, and um, I actually have like clinically been diagnosed with that. So I immediately upon realizing that I was having problems with that, I felt like I needed to incorporate like um, techniques of coping and understanding through like the music I play, which just honestly at the time I had already been playing a lot of guitar and I played with a couple of bands. It just involved me like trying to reach emotional heights um, with more confidence than before um, to to see if I could flesh out all those issues that were surrounding my feelings. If that makes sense. I mean, I think
Yeah.
I think every musician's different in their approach, but like that's how I tend to approach that. So,
Okay.
if that answers your question.
Yeah, that's a good. Um, how would you describe your music? Like, what is your style as an artist?
I've dipped into some experimental stuff. I've dipped into like um, more like alternative rock, kind of indie centric stuff. I think the stuff that I tend to be better at, but not necessarily what I play most consistently, is like funk. I think. Um, like I play a couple instruments. I started on guitar. I was like, yeah, freaking rocking on guitar. And then one day I picked up a bass and I started playing bass for a while. And I was like, man, like I think this is like my instrument. So I shifted completely to bass after that, and I've been playing it for years. And so yeah, I mean, like for me, it was like discovering a whole new instrument was like really refreshing, you know. So
Yeah, sounds awesome. Sounds way
yeah,
refreshing.
it is. It was cool, and yeah. So I was able to kind of pull off the funk thing a little better with bass, but it's not necessarily like my favorite thing to play. I just noticed that people were like, "Yeah, you're great, good job playing funk," and I'm like, "Right on!" Like I will do that. But I'm like internally, I'm like, I just kind of want to play like whatever. I don't really have a genre that I want to prescribe to whatever we're doing. I just want to play, and have a good
Yeah.
time.
Okay.
So
Cool.
yeah, I mean, yeah.
Um, so as you've been kind of like going through recovery from depression, and using music for that, what does that look like? Like, do you write your music, or do you put your soul in the music? What does that look like for you?
I I uh I always try to put my soul in the music, even if I feel like I'm on a high or on an
Mm,
up. You know, I
yeah.
to me it's kind of a waste of time if I don't. Um, so and I don't want to waste my time, and I don't want. And if
Yeah.
I'm with a band, I don't want to waste their time either. And I can tell if they're at all rational people, they're gonna be like, "Oh, Andy's not putting in 100% here." I feel weird about that, and I would just based on the respect I have for other musicians and the people I play with, I will always put 100%, and that means emotionally, that means as much time as I can without it compromising like my own personal health,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
even sometimes past that point. Um, I've gotten there. I've gotten there a couple times where I've even committed more than I can because I care about it that much. So
Oh, cool.
yeah.
What's been your inspiration? Did you have an artist that was kind of like your inspiration to use music as part of your recovery?
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody has artists that mean something to them, and I'm no exception. I mean, but for me, it's more like an artist will float in to my interest range, and then I'll really incorporate their elements into what I'm playing, and then eventually I'll move on to something new, and I'll still keep elements of that artist in what I play, but I'll center around something else depending on what I'm interested in at the time. So I mean, right now I'm like really into like the Isley Brothers and like the Everly Brothers and Brothers Johnson. A lot of brothers.
Oh.
Really into the brothers. I
Love it.
swear. I mean, those it's not it's just a
Yeah.
coincidence that they're all brothers. But I really I like my old school. I like old school. I think that would be probably the most accurate, at least for right now. But yeah, again, it'll vary. Like in a year from now,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna feel the same way about those artists that I do now, just because I've grown to something new, and
Yeah.
that's cool. It's nice to just kind of keep things fresh as
Yeah.
much as I
Keep
can.
keep things moving.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so as you're as you've been kind of experimenting with music, playing different styles, trying different stuff, um, what has this done for your recovery? How does it kind of keep you out of that dark space of depression? Because we all know you can get into these dark spaces. Then you have these really like hypomanic days where you're super active and doing really
Mm-hmm.
well. How does it look on both sides? Like how does it when you in those dark spaces? How does music kind of pull you out of that?
Um, it for me, um, for me. It's always just something like I can look forward to. So especially if I know I'm going to be playing with the group or I'm going to record something specifically for my own use.
Mm,
Uh, I tend to set time for that somewhere in the week or over the weekend. And if I'm really feeling like I'm in a low, and that's happened, where I've been like having a really tough month,
yeah.
and to have that like sort of light at the end of the tunnel uh, to look forward to is usually what helps me. And even in the moment of, it's not even necessarily 100% of what I was hoping for, but
Mhm.
just the fact that I had that time beforehand to get excited about it and
Mhm.
to envision what I want and to think about what I want to try to put into it. um, it's good for my brain because it allows me to focus on one thing that isn't just all the stuff that I have anxiety and dark thoughts centered around that aren't that. So
Oh,
yeah, I mean that's kind of like how I use it. Um, yeah, does that answer your
yeah.
question? I know
No,
that's kind of
no,
vague,
no.
but
That answers it well.
okay, good,
So it
good,
sounds like it's almost like an escape. It kind of pulls you out of those spaces to kind of like give
totally.
you like a free zone of just kind of creativity.
Yeah, yeah, it's like I think of it as like an anchor kind of like for me it's like my feelings of like just the bad feelings that I get that surround my life. I can sort of put them aside to just focus on the future because I have something tangible that I can uh, know is ahead um, musically.
Okay. So do you play anywhere right now that people can, if they want, they're in the local area and they want to hit you up, like come see anywhere? Are you playing anywhere? Are you recording?
Yeah,
I know
I
with
am.
COVID, it
I'm
makes it a little interesting to just
see.
say,
COVID is the killer right now because I think for most musicians, like there's just not like the opportunity has dried up, and 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 I love that musicians are so conniving people sometimes. Like they're crafty. They are even working in situations where we have COVID, but they're making it work. Like one of the coolest things I saw the other day is I'm not like I like the band The Flaming Lips, but I noticed that they had started playing shows where everyone's in a bubble. I thought that was the coolest idea. Like they were like, okay,
oh,
we'll incorporate the elements of sort of the whole COVID, like everyone's isolated, and we'll turn it into a show that also has a utility use of being able to provide those like 10-foot spaces. It
oh,
was just like that's so brilliant.
oh, that's real
Um,
cool. That's creative. It'd almost be cool to like the different colors, almost create like a big artistic thing of the
and
music.
that's totally what they did, yeah, and they rolled with that, and so it's just cool to see that artists even at the top are doing things that are like pretty creative to deal with this, and that's always going to happen, you know like musicians are always going to tend to like try to find ways to express themselves in reflection to what's going on in pop culture and in society in general, obviously. So
That's cool.
so I mean, like I don't really like the COVID thing is terrible, obviously, and it's tough for a musician to get out there now, but like it's also a challenge for your average musician to find a way to like be expressive under the new criteria that is, you have to be cautious about spreading and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like that's interesting. It's an interesting
yeah.
dynamic that you
How
have to
are
work with.
you? How are you making it through COVID right now?
How
Like,
am I making
how are
it?
you taking care of
Wow.
yourself? How are you making your music?
I I'm just doing it the same way I always done it. I try to approach it with a good attitude, even if I'm feeling down. I always put in 100%, and that tends to be even if I'm feeling sad, I'll throw that in there. That just means we're gonna be playing some bluesy stuff that night,
Yeah.
and that's okay. Um, so I just sort of I work with it the same way as I've always been working with it. I just try to like maintain an even more positive attitude. Like I feel like sometimes I need to be a little bit more vigilant in this past year than I would have in years prior, just based on the fact that times are tough.
Yeah. Yeah, times are really interesting right now. I think we're all kind of doing
Hmm.
different stuff to take care of ourselves.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
yeah. So when you're playing music, what do you do outside music? What keeps you going? What fills your bucket?
Um, well, what fills my bread bucket is I also on the side I work as a chemist, so it's a
Oh
little
wow.
yeah. So I got the chemistry thing going on, and then I also will do like odd jobs. So I'll pick up whatever work I can basically. Kind of a jack of all trades, I guess would
Well,
be the way to describe that. I don't
how does a
know.
how is a chemist a jack of all trades? Like that's a
I
very
know, right?
specific
It's
like
it's pretty specific. I know.
yeah, it's
Well,
very
I mean, when I roll up to my chemistry job, I'm like, I know I'm doing chemistry that day,
oh okay.
but that's just like my kind of 9 to 5,
Oh, your nine to
and
five
so
jam.
my 9 to 5 jam, I do that, and then whatever space I have left in the week, I will pull whatever tricks I can to get a little extra on the side, and that's been going pretty okay. I like working
Okay.
like interesting stuff, so just to keep things interesting, and um,
Okay.
so that's how I keep afloat.
Okay. Cool.
Um,
Yeah, because every musicians, I mean, that's a very like hit or
it's
miss.
not lucrative.
No,
I
not
mean,
until
unless
you.
you're really successful and you know how to market yourself, and some artists do, and that's great. Like I've never really approached it with any intent to like make money either. And I know some people. I've worked with some people that are
Yeah.
like that's their goal. Their goal is to make a lot of money with what they're doing, and they have a vision for that, and that's admirable. But it's never been my approach. It's never been
Yeah.
my approach.
So it sounds
So
like you play for the music itself. It sounds like
always, I can't even. I really just. It would be hard for me to envision myself playing with knowing that I was compromised in some way, shape, or form. I just it would just discourage me. I think, but
okay.
but that doesn't mean I have any reservations about people that I know like treat music as a business.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have disagreements with them, fundamental disagreements with them about certain things, but I think generally speaking, I totally get it. With musicians, they really gotta grind hard to like survive if that's going to be their
Oh yeah.
full
I
time gig.
can't even imagine how hard it is. How hard the professional musicians have to work, and even the ones coming up on the scene just having to work. Yeah.
I can't either. I can't.
Yeah.
I mean, I've always just kind of like tried to relax a little bit about that, and because I really want to enjoy it, and I don't want it to ever feel like too much work, and
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
I just don't. Yeah.
what's your favorite venue you played in? What's the coolest place you've
Um.
ever played?
Well, that's a good question. When I first so I arrived in Colorado maybe like a year ago. I haven't been here that long, and right when I got here is when lockdown just started. So I
Oh
was
no.
like, it threw me off. I was like, well, I can't play anywhere. And I had already gotten into a group, maybe within like a month of getting
Oh
here, and
wow.
so I started playing with them, and I was like, "This is cool. This is awesome. I can't wait to start playing some gigs somewhere." And almost immediately, was like, "Nope, that's not gonna happen. No way.
Oh
Not with
no.
what's going on." So that was interesting, and trying to work and meet social connections under these new, lockdown uh, criteria was interesting. It's tough coming to a new place when you don't know anybody, and you now all your social uh, leeway has just been taken away. It's tough, and
Yeah.
especially if you're a musician, yeah, when you're trying to play shows, it's like there's nothing available right now. I know some people that are playing shows in under specific conditions, and but I mean, around here, I haven't played that much yet. I mean, I've done a couple of live streams, and I think that's what a lot of musicians are doing now is a lot of live streaming stuff.
Yeah.
At least that's what I tend to see, which is cool. I like
Yeah.
that. It's fun to just kind of jump in on some band's live stream and be like, okay, nice. This is. It almost feels very intimate in some ways that it wouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily at a venue, because like when you're playing a venue, you got to be like top shape. Everyone's got to be best attitude, best foot forward, and like I almost kind of like watching a band when they're like in this like zone where they're insecure a little bit more, and and things aren't as smooth, you know, because it gives
Yeah.
me more insight into the human psyche. That's, you know, I can relate to you guys. I know how practicing can be kind of tough sometimes, and it's rocky. So I like that.
Yeah. How have you
Um,
been doing with your music? How is it helping you during this really interesting health pandemic that we're in right now?
oh, it's great. Honestly, it's if I didn't have music, I'd be having a rough time on most weekends because I just wouldn't be able to find anything to do. It's what I like doing, and so I gravitate towards people that think in that same mind frame about how they want to approach their improving their mental health through this whole thing. And just in my experience, we form a community by doing that, and then we help each other as a community by doing that, by talking about this kind of stuff. So, like as an example, the other night, my drummer, we had like a nice dialogue about how we were feeling with, you know, just depression in general, and I was like, I wouldn't have gone on that level with you if we hadn't just played music for a couple hours and felt a good connection forming there. So it's like that's great, and I can kind of depend on that now,
Yeah.
as a source of comfort and being able to talk about it. So
It sounds like it almost opens up like a different door, different avenue of communication for you. Like it,
it always does, because I mean, a lot of music is all like nonverbal anyway. So
yeah,
like we're having a conversation even when we're not using our words. You know, we're
yeah,
communicating via our instruments. And after you play with a person for a year, and I think the longest group I've ever had was like 3 years. After
uh,
3 years, you don't even have to say a word to this person like all day, and you can just have a nonverbal line of connection that will just is pretty strong, you know. And that can go either way. Sometimes it can be very exposing, and and you got to kind of just like let all your barriers go and be honest with who you are when you're at that point with other musicians, because it just is like you can't really hold back. And obviously that's hard, you know, for a lot of
yeah.
people. I think it's hard to open up about stuff like that, but
Oh yeah, yeah. Does it make it easier to talk about your depression and stuff through your music? Like like when you're like the way you play, the way you connect with the instrument, like putting those emotions into it.
totally, totally. I've gotten to the point where I can say more with an instrument than I can in verbally, and that's and I don't think that's that uncommon with musicians that take things pretty are very passionate about what they do. Like,
Yeah,
you know, you look at some of the greatest musicians, and you're like, I can hear every note is like pain to them, you know, or it's pleasure, or it's lust, or it's, you know, like all these emotions just sort of amalgamating into one sequence. It's for me like that became reachable a long time ago, and now I I put that emotion out there, but I try to exercise a sense of control so that I can make it understandable to the people I'm playing with. Because I think some some musicians don't do that. I think some musicians
mm-hmm.
make stuff that's so emotionally raw that it's like almost you have to stand back and just respect it. But my intention and my goal as a musician is to be as approachable as I can, because I think it's helpful for other people to be able to relate to what I'm playing, and because that's what helps me to um, uh, channel like what I'm feeling, I guess, because I like to be able to reflect with others. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I've been communicating in that way through my instrument, just tonally, for a while now, and it's nice because like your brain can only think certain words per
Yeah.
minute, but like for me, if I play a note, like I have an infinite playground to just noodle around and feel what I need to feel.
Oh, cool. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm sure you've probably heard the band Blue October.
Yeah, I like Blue
They
October.
they put some like serious emotion. You can hear his the way his tone is, the way his music plays. You know, some of them are like, whoa, you are not in a good headspace right now when you're writing. Because other ones are like, wow, this is awesome.
Yeah,
We're having a really good day. Things are rocking.
yeah, right. It could just go either way.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's like very human, you know.
Yeah,
That is what music is. I don't know. If I'm listening to stuff that sounds too good, like it's too
yeah,
polished, everybody sounds like way too good attitude all the time.
yeah,
It to me, I immediately am suspicious. I'm like, somebody's got to be having a tough time here, and like, I almost just
yeah,
like wait for that now because to me it gives it that like that taste of antiquity to it, you know. So
yeah. The
um,
authenticity to the, you know,
yeah, authenticity for yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
Just you know like that human edge that I just need because if everyone's on their best behavior, that's great. But like, it's okay if you got a member that's like freaking having a tough time, you know. Like because I seek that out now, and I want
yeah.
to hear that. Maybe that's why I like blues a lot and some indie stuff
Oh
a
yeah.
lot. Cause so anyway,
I don't know. I don't know. You sit down like a Stevie Ray Vaughan song or like a BB King, and
yeah,
you can
yeah.
feel the
Oh,
connection with
totally.
the
It's just
instrument, and the
oh
way
yeah, the emotions just dripping,
they.
dripping out, literally in sweat. You know, BB King's
Oh,
probably sweating while he's playing
oh
because
yeah.
he's just deep into
Oh,
that. I love that. Yeah.
even like Kenny Wayne Shepherd, like he just the way he connected with the music. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
who is your artist? That one that like I brought up a couple. Who is yours that like you hear it and it's just like you're instantly like I'm there with you, my friend.
Oh man. For a while, it's been a couple. I don't know. It's hard for me to boil it down in any particular because there are some groups that like there are elements to what they play that I'm like, yes, this is what I'm looking for, and then other groups I also feel different elements that I also attach myself to.
Yeah.
Um, I really like for some reason in general 90s rock tends to be like my
Okay.
emotional like what I can connect to emotionally most strongly, and I'm not really sure
Okay.
why that is. It's just something about
Okay.
the aesthetic from the time and like the stuff that I'm comfortable with playing. It just tends to all like interconnect into that one genre.
Okay.
So um,
We talking like STP or are we talking like Limp Bizkit? Like,
I like STP. I'm a really big fan of a band called Pavement. I'm a really big
oh,
fan of a band called Spiritualized. I'm a really big fan of a band called Galaxy 500. I like a band called Built to Spill. I like
huh.
indie rock, I guess, indie
Okay.
rock from that time period. I
Yeah.
think like the early stages of indie rock,
Okay.
um, kind of before like just before Radiohead, I think, kind of
Yeah.
emerged, and like other electronic kind of indie rock artists. Like the flavor that was right before that is like just very sweet to me.
Okay. Okay.
So,
What's your driving jam? What's the one that when you get in your car, you
oh,
can turn it on?
Offspring for sure. I
Offspring.
love the Offspring. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll just
Is
rock out to
there?
the Offspring.
It doesn't matter what song, just Offspring.
It doesn't matter what song.
Is
Even the songs that I'm like, they were not on point for this one. I'll still just be like, max out the volume and have a good time. I like it
okay.
maybe just like punk in general for the most part, but definitely that band in particular. I'll jump back to.
Oh, cool.
So
That's cool.
yeah,
Is there anything on your
that's
mind you
great.
wanted to bring up that's on your mind today in the music scene, in
Um,
your mental health that you wanted? This is kind of I was gonna ask you to play a little bit of music too, but like give you some time to like if there was questions you had, things you wanted to bring up.
you know, I guess I have one thing to say. Because if anyone's watching this that like also needs some kind of mental support, which I'm sure there is, um, even if it's just myself. I just want them to know that like I'm listening and a lot of people are listening, and we're all just waiting for that one thing that really drives it home and shows that you're hanging in there and you're putting your best foot forward. You're doing the best you can to make something that is really crafted well and shows that you care. And like I'm attuned for that. Like I can, I'm one of those people that like is on the lookout for that. So um just like keep your head up and keep focused and um try to be as honest with what you're doing as you can, and you will succeed. um and I've been trying to like incorporate that advice, like that's like a do as I say, not as I do advice, because
Yeah.
it's like I don't always do that. But it's hard as a musician to like 100% just like drop your barriers and trust that what you're doing will have an impact. It is very hard because it you know it could go either way, and it could be a rough time. But that's the sacrifice you got to make if you're someone that really wants to um, make a sound that resonates throughout your life. And so
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I'm
that's
sure it's
that's
hard
I
to
know that's
drop that and be emotionally vulnerable to.
it is. It is so hard, and but you can get better at it, and so that's my goal, is to just shoot to do that. And I've been working on that for years, and I know people that have more of a tough time with that than others, and some people it just comes naturally. But to me, either way, if you're showing that you're, through your music or in your life in general, if you're showing me that you are willing to do that and you are putting that effort forth, you
Mhm.
sold me. You got me, and I will reward you with my interest any day of the week. So
That's awesome. Well, would you like to
yeah.
play something for us? You want to play a jam for the
Yeah,
listeners?
sure. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I honestly wasn't sure how you wanted to do this, but I'll play something. Sure. This
Yeah.
is cool. I haven't played over like a Zoom call yet. This is gonna be
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. I'm going to expand my podcast into YouTube, and now that I'm on iHeartRadio, hoping I'm starting to get hits. I'm like, this would be really cool that people play and like showcase your stuff to where other people are listening to it around wherever they are.
Okay, that's so cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. I actually want to. I love watching stuff like this, so it's exciting that you're doing this. I was so excited when you first reached out to me. I was like, oh, this is really cool. Someone doing a local podcast that's like devoted to this stuff that I care about so much.
Yeah.
Almost immediately, I was like, yes,
Yeah.
this is what we need.
I love music. I can't. I have a neurological disorder, so I can't really play anymore. I attempted a very failed attempt to learn the guitar
Oh, really?
with my hands shaking so much. I'm like, I spent more time breaking strings than I did playing anything. I'm like, okay, as much as I want to learn this, this is not going well. So I,
So now you let other musicians sort of express for you, kind of.
well, I want to hear what other people are working on. I always had a passion for music. I played all through my public education, was in marching band, and I attempted for drumline a couple times, was taken off drumline. I played kind of wherever they wanted me in there. And then when I graduated, I was like, okay, well, I always wanted to play music. I got a piano downstairs, just like not musically inclined here 21 years after high school, but my wife plays the piano. I love listening to music. And I've always enjoyed it, like the connection, the spirituality, the just emotional rawness that an artist can put into it. So I'm like, that'd be really cool to like talk to artists and learn what they do. So I'm like, that was a big part of when I started this podcast. Like, I want to connect with artists and talk to them about what they're working on, see how they put that emotional connection into their music. So
Wow, that's very admirable. Um, and it's exciting for me as an artist to hear that there are people that do that and are willing to do that.
I think it's also because I'm a social worker and I'm like, oh, I need to know how people's brains work.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's all part of the same kind of scope for you, right? That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. I think, I'm paying student loans on it, so I got to come up with another side hustle to
Yeah,
maybe
you
it'll
do.
make.
We all do. We
Yeah.
all do.
So,
I know that. I know that life.
yep.
So.
the student loan life. Hashtag student loans.
I know. I got a couple grand I gotta pay off too. I mean,
Yep.
it's just kind of like the name of the game now.
Yep. It's just what we do.
Yeah.
Oh, all right, cool. I'll let you play something if you don't mind. It'd be
Okay.
awesome.
Sure. Yeah. Um. I guess I've been playing original song. I was debating whether to play a cover and original, but I think I'm gonna do an original.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be awesome. It'd be awesome to
Okay.
debut an original song on this podcast for YouTube and
Yes.
iHeartRadio. You never know.
Yes.
You never know who's listening, right?
Yeah. Okay. All right.
All right,
All
go
right.
for it, man. Rock and roll.
All right. Well. That's it.
That was awesome. That was
Thanks.
awesome.
Thanks. It's short and sweet.
That was way
Figured
cool.
that's what you needed.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a name for that one?
Yeah, it's called Cry to Pieces.
Okay.
And it's I noticed I don't know when along the line of writing that it just developed like a country twang, but it just was like, oh, I'm just gonna throw like it just started and I was like, cool, that's interesting. I don't play country, that's not really my thing, but it
Yep.
somehow works for the song, so
Yeah, it's got a little
yeah.
bit of like Florida Georgia line and like
Yeah, a
Crooks
little
and
stuff that I like. I
Dunn.
don't even listen to that kind of stuff, and yet I'm playing it,
Yeah.
So it's cool. I like to have that. I love old school country too, so I'm like trying to sound as much like that as I can for that
Yeah.
one at least. So, but there you go.
Yeah. That's awesome. So when you were writing this, what was going on in life in general? Can you give us like a synopsis of kind of
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's another. This touches on another reason I love writing music is because it tends to for me, it puts a nice timestamp on where I was at the time in my life. So, like for instance, in this song, I was um, living with my partner at the time, and I just graduated from college, and I remember I was like kind of at a crossroads. And not to and I say that, but I'm like I feel like I'm constantly at a crossroads like all the time. But this felt like a big moment where I had to just sort of choose like where I wanted to go and in what direction, just in general. And so my response to that was like, I'm gonna write a song, and I
okay.
did, and and that's not usually the way I would write songs prior to that. I remember before that I would write songs just based on pure inspiration, like it would be 3 a.m. or something, and I'd be like, I'm feeling something right now, and I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna put something down, or write something down, or
Yeah.
whatever I had to do to make that happen. But for the first time, I actually just was like, I think I want to just start from scratch, And I don't even feel particularly like a sense of strong inspiration in any particular direction. I just want to like see if I can understand what I'm feeling about this weird time in my life, and interpret it musically. And so that song is my experience trying that for the first time. So, and it was
Oh,
pretty.
cool.
It was a good experience. So
Yeah.
yeah, I find anytime I'm writing something new, if I'm like, I'm gonna try to shake it up as much as I can, because if I
Mm.
do, I'm usually rewarded by some insight that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. And I mean that as genuinely as possible. Like, that is how I would approach writing music.
Mm.
Especially nowadays, playing with a group, I don't really want to come in and have things sort of set in stone exactly the way I'd want them to be played, because I know everyone's interpretation of the song is going to be different. That's just the
Yeah.
way people play, musicians in general. They don't really like, you're never going to be able to put them into a box. So don't even try. Don't
Yeah.
try. That's my word of advice for the day. Don't try to force musicians into a box. They will not like that box.
Yeah. I mean,
So
look at Miley Cyrus, where she's come from as an artist. You know,
yeah, yeah. Oh
she's come
man, she's
from Nickelodeon to went to country to pop, and I don't even know how you describe what she does now. It's she moves all over because it seems to be wherever she needs to go.
she's like ever evolving, which honestly
Yeah.
I didn't used to like respect her at all. I remember I because I was kind of growing up when that was then she was first emerging as an artist. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, to me she always was like kind of an enigma. Like, it was just like, what is she gonna do this year, and
Yeah.
I was inspired kind of by her attitude
Yeah.
about music in some ways. In some ways, I felt like, at least with a lot of pop artists,
Yeah.
I don't like the whole like image first thing 100% of the
Yeah.
time, because I do think that has some influence on like your music. But
Mm.
then again, like, everybody has their interpretation of what art is in general, and I think what she does is pretty artistic. It's pretty crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
very out of the box
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. So okay,
Yeah.
that's a good example, I think,
Yeah.
of that.
So who who as an artist do you align the most with? Like, you're like, that's that's my human. Like, I there's like they
Um,
play, they just the way they interact, the way they work. You're like, yep,
that's
that's
it.
yeah,
Like a person in my life, you mean, like someone I know, or
yeah.
like an actual like he's like
Like
an artist.
like a musician or an artist, a painter. Like, who in your life is like
Hmm.
that inspirational human or animal that you're like, yeah, that's that. Yeah, we got.
Yeah, I can answer this. Recently, and like maybe in the past 5 years, like artist wise, not necessarily musician wise. I'm like a huge fan of Van Gogh. I know that's gonna sound
Oh
kind of like cliche almost, because I think a lot of
yeah,
people like Van Gogh, but like I feel like in some ways, like I kind of freaking get Van Gogh. Like, he his his worldviews were so striated and so dark at times, and like just like utter he danced with like madness itself. And I think a lot of like artists that sort of last throughout the ages do that, but
yeah,
in the way he did it was so unique to me, and it just for some reason I like to emulate that kind of understanding when I play music, I guess, in some ways. And like, if I have to sit and reflect on something, some one of his works, and then go into a musical state, to get inspired, I
mm-hmm.
will, and I have. So
Oh,
so yeah,
that's
that's
cool.
kind of my approach to interpreting an artist that isn't necessarily a musician. Is I'll like sit and just soak that attitude, and then because I mean, like, that kind of crosses barriers that are like artistic barriers that you wouldn't get necessarily from just musicians. But
Yeah,
obviously, I'll also listen to some music to get pumped up to make what I'm doing, without being a direct rip off of whatever I've been listening to, which is hard, because I think there's some, people
oh
out
yeah,
there that I'm like, it's I'm just like, you just ripped this off. I've been listening to I listened to a lot of Led Zeppelin when I was younger, and I love
Mm,
Led Zeppelin. I love Led
yeah,
Zeppelin. I'm sorry, I'm just a '70s rock guy. My dad listened to them.
yeah.
Of course, I'm gonna like them.
Oh
Average
yeah,
white dude
yeah,
probably gonna listen to Led Zeppelin. The likelihood is very high,
yeah,
but I've listened
yeah.
to them now, and now I listen to like a lot of like really old school blues, like from the '50s, even the '40s, like and I'm, a lot of people have had this criticism of them, but like they can totally just like rip off like some of your like African American, maybe not rip it off, but like
Yeah.
it's just like they're sort of using the same techniques, um, without it being like a cover in a sense. And
Hmm.
maybe this was a time
Yeah.
where that wasn't really like, this was sort of like, you know, a gray area. But you can still sort of sense that there were some elements that were just like directly taken. And that being said, I think every artist kind of does this. Like your music will always have this sense of something else. So it comes from something else. It's all
Yeah.
born from something else. It's born from our inspiration elsewhere. Like I would love to see the music someone that creates on a desert island, someone that has never
Oh,
met society at all. I would love to see that because I bet you that's the
yeah.
most interesting thing in the world to see.
Oh, that would be
No influence from the outside world. And I'm sure we'll never get that. And maybe this person doesn't
yeah.
even want to make music.
Yeah, that would
It's
be kind of interesting. That'd probably be a very like cathartic way to go and create music, to like go to this place and be like, okay, that's my goal right now, is to sit down and just
right.
create and see what comes about.
I think it'd be cool. I'm on the search now for stuff that even like touches that realm. Um, so I get excited whenever I see something that's even close to it.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I've been doing that for a while now. I just been looking for stuff that's really out there, and so I love when people recommend music to me too. I don't know about you, but like it just gets me so pumped, and like it always throws a wrench in the mix for me, and like that's kind of what I want. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I like
So
throwing on like when I'm doing like paperwork at work, like if a client doesn't show up or I have like this time, I'll throw on like YouTube now and just list all. I have like these random music lists. I'll just play it because sometimes they throw in stuff that you're like, who is this musician? And just to have that going in the screen to like see who they are and what they're playing is like interesting. I found one a while ago called Sheeran. I don't even know how to describe her music, but it's just fascinating. She has one called "So Human of You," and you can tell it's like there was a lot going in her life. And I read through the lyrics, and it looks like there was like a breakup and a heartbreak, and like coming to terms with it, and just like the music itself was just like it was like this is really cool. So I started researching, ended up downloading her album. I'm like, this is absolutely awesome.
right on.
But it
That's
was like I discovered on YouTube. Like,
Yeah, you'd be
who would have?
discovered anywhere. I mean,
Yeah,
YouTube's a good source. Spotify even sometimes
yeah,
will surprise me with stuff. Bandcamp. I used Bandcamp
yeah,
for a while. SoundCloud has been hit or miss for me.
yeah,
Um, you spread yourself as much as you can. You will find stuff that's kind of cool, and it just takes a little
yeah,
bit of digging. Uh, but that's cool. Yeah, you get like a playlist or something, and suddenly you're like, oh wow, I'm the rabbit hole of this artist.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
kind of cool.
yeah. On
So,
Wikipedia, on Google, trying to find out who
yep.
they are,
Oh
and
yeah.
then
Oh yeah.
it's like, who is? Oh, this is really cool. Like I figured out.
Yeah.
My wife and I were like, well, she's got some interesting like art in her stuff. We'll go on. She's a like designer. She designs like wedding dresses and clothes, and she's got this website. It's like this is really cool. Like,
Yeah.
huh,
That is so
oh,
cool. That is cool. So she's got the side hustles too.
oh
You
yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So cool, man. Well, I think this was really awesome to have you on. I really appreciate you taking your time on a Sunday morning to sit down and
No
record
problem.
this. Um,
No problem.
I will shoot you the link to it. Um, if you can send me the links to your SoundCloud, I will put that on the bottom of the YouTube video. And
Okay.
um,
Sure thing, man. Yeah, I'll give you whatever you need, and I'll watch that when I get a chance. I love watching myself on recordings. I'm like, that dude is so awkward. That dude is so awkward, but he's trying his best. I love
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah, I
Okay,
know.
I can do that.
Since I've been doing this, I've watched the last couple that we've recorded, and I go back and I'm going, all right, I
Uh,
can change this, I can move
oh
this.
yeah.
But
I
that's
imagine
why,
it's a trial by fire. You just gotta
mm,
just keep doing it, and
yeah, like all my ducks in the office, I keep moving all my ducks.
I
Go across.
noticed that. I love the ducks. I love the ducks. I love,
Yeah,
honestly, the decor in general is cool. I feel like it's well balanced. You got like kind of like chaotic like bookshelf going thing. You got your desk over here. You got like a cool like poster of like something in the background there. Keep things fresh. You got like a diploma in the corner. I see.
yeah. I mean, I got to pay for my homage to the Alumni Student
Uh,
Loan Association of.
right. You got to keep that in the frame. You're like,
Yeah. Oh,
it's always
I.
on my mind.
Yeah, that was great. I'm gonna be paying for that until I retire. Yay! Thanks.
Right on. No, it's
Yeah.
cool. I generally I like it. It's cool. It's nice,
Yeah.
and you should shake it up. Keep shaking it up, man. I mean,
Oh yeah.
that's
I
that's my
keep trying.
that's my one advice. Shake it up whenever you can.
Well, I got to work in here too during the week. I'm like, I got to make it effective for work. And I do the podcast. I'm like, I'm just gonna like leave it because
Mm,
that's why the podcast is called That's Random. We're just gonna leave it as it is and not, and it's gonna be like it normally is.
okay. Well, that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I always show my clients I hide all my therapy books back here. We got stuff for my wife's work. We got other books over here. I got therapy binders. I'm like, I try to hide the therapy books. Like nobody wants to see those.
oh no, I mean, I think it's cool that you're doing this kind of musician involved therapy. It almost sort of felt like a therapy session a couple times. Like you were like asking, some pretty like I'm like, wow, like I hope I can answer this honestly. Like
Oh,
I
I'm
feel
trying not
like
to go
I'm
into
like
therapy. I'm trying not to
I
go
can,
into
I can
therapy
tell you were
line.
trying not to, and you were doing a good job. You were like it didn't feel too much like that. And to be honest with you, it would have been fine if it was for me. Like I think I do a pretty good job just being an open book and like because again I want that and I would never want to just clam up.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
so anyway. I like your approach. I think
Oh, thank you.
it's good for what you're trying to do and
Yeah, I don't
so
know
there you
where it'll
go.
go from here. I'll just keep recording them and we'll see where it goes. You know,
Right on.
with Larry King recently passing away, maybe they need a replacement host.
Yeah,
Rest in peace,
yeah.
Larry
I
King.
saw that. Yeah, Larry King. He
I
changed.
mean, he was the god of interviews. Rest in peace, Larry King.
I know.
Our shout out for this episode.
I know. Yeah, here's the Larry King.
Yeah,
Rest in peace, Larry
here's
King.
the Larry King.
I don't have a drink, but
Uh,
I have a cup.
all right, think virtual clink.
That's
All right.
great.
Well, thank you very much for coming on, Andrew. Let's definitely keep in touch. Definitely let's if you have anything coming out, anything you're working on, just give me a shout. I'd love to have you back on at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, cool, man. Well, I'll shoot you a link to the video. Everybody check out the links at the bottom of the video. I'll be putting those up for what Andrew's working on, links to his music. Thanks, everybody, for listening, and we hope you guys have a good Sunday.
Bye, everybody. Take it easy, man.